So after decades of fighting, the Colombian government and the rebel group FARC are on the brink of peace talks. But in an interview just conducted with Al Jazeera in the last few hours, Colombia's President Juan Manuel Santos has said we can't lower our guard. He seems to remain sceptical, cautious of the FARC's motives, but does believe peace is possible and could happen quicker than many would think. That interview conducted by our Latin America editor Lucia Newman, who joins us live now from Barranquilla. Lucia.
Kamala, I spoke at length to President Juan Manuel Santos. He was very, very guarded. He realizes that this is probably the biggest challenge he's ever faced in his life, one of the most important moments for Colombia to put an end to the longest running civil conflict in the Western Hemisphere. I started by asking him whether really the lack of trust between both sides was an insurmountable stumbling block for this peace process.
I will tell you something. If there is goodwill from both parts, we will reach an agreement much sooner than people expect. I think there's the fundamental issues that are in the table that we agreed to discuss and agree on in order to finalize definitely the conflict are not that difficult.
If you look at Colombian history, every time that a rebel group has agreed to lay down their arms, has agreed to talk peace with the government, or almost every time, their leaders have been killed. They've either been betrayed by the state or the state has been unable or unwilling to protect them. So why should the FARC leadership believe now that this won't happen again?
I can tell you here, sitting down in Barranquilla where we are, that this will not happen from the state, and that I will protect the process with everything I have in my hands, and when I say sit down and I give you guarantees, I will comply.
What are you willing to give the FARC? I mean, how much is peace worth? Is it worth immunity, impunity?
Well, Lucia, you must understand I cannot start negotiating through the media, through the television channels. This is a matter to be discussed in the table. There are some rules of the game that we have set with the FARC, and I intend to respect them.
You are about to sit down and negotiate, yet you have just instructed your army to increase military operations against the FARC. So what is the thinking behind that?
The thinking is, I've set a series of conditions. One of them is there's no concessions in the military terrain until we reach an agreement to finalize definitely the conflict. Until then, there's no concessions.
I understand about not having concessions, but increasing military operations, that seems almost like an aggression.
We need to intensify because we're in the sort of a last track of this conflict, and we cannot lower our guard.
Kamal, I also asked the president whether he believed in the FARC's good faith and whether he believes what the FARC leadership announced in Havana just on Friday, and that is that they no longer are holding any hostages. His answer was that he got into this process with a great degree of skepticism, that over the years the FARC has basically tried to deceive the government, has used negotiations to try to get stronger, but at the same time he believes that the FARC has finally come to realize that its moment has come to lay down their weapons, that their days are over, that they've been fighting for 50 years without having achieved anything. So in that sense, he does seem optimistic.
Excellent stuff from our Latin America editor Lucia Newman there, who, as you heard, just interviewed the Colombian president. Lots has come out of that interview. For example, when she asked about the former Colombian president Alvaro Uribe, who's criticized this peace process, Santos said, quote, "That's his problem." You will see that full interview on the next edition of Talk to Al Jazeera. Lucia Newman's interview with Juan Manuel Santos. Keep an eye out for that coming up in the near future here on Al Jazeera.